should see ourselves. Yay! Okay, great.
Success!
And then if comments happen, they'll be there. It's the YouTube thing is kind of like we don't get a lot of interaction.
Right.
All right.
Kind of like the machinima thing we're doing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of interaction.
Well, it's like live. It's this for the CW's Cult, and basically it's live right after the show Cult on the CW, and then we get about 5,000, 6,000 people.
Nice.
Basically saying gay boobs
Right.
and subscribe to me, and then after it airs, we get like a couple 100,000 of people who actually watch the show.
Gotcha.
So that's the beauty of the interwebs.
Yeah. I don't know, I got a lot more relatively constructive interaction on Stickam, but then they folded. All right, let me start this. Oh, I have to record on here too. God damn, I have too many things.
Too many things to do.
All right. Hey everybody, this is Sam Proof from Crave Online's Comedy Crack, and joining me today from the Game of Thrones Team Parody, School of Thrones, from the, I'm going to say, raunchy Day After series, Walk of Shame, and I don't know how to describe Squatters, it's Squatters.
Yeah.
Squatters, the series, and a bunch of other stuff. Brendan Bradley.
Way too much internet stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on. We were at the rap party last night for School of Thrones.
Which was amazing.
Yeah, that was really good.
It was nice. What I thought was cool is that they had their own beverage.
Yeah.
Cersei's Poison?
Cersei's
was that what it
Poison.
was called?
Yeah, I think so, which was just sangria, really.
Right.
Which is what you would drink.
That's how I think of sangria anyway.
Right.
It's just poison. Could have had some like whiskey or some tequila in it or something, just to kind of like throw it in there.
What is your drink?
I'm generally a microbrew guy.
Oh.
So I had the worst IPA I've ever had last night at the bar.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember you mentioned that. I had the, before the whiskey, I had whatever their darkest thing was, which had some French name. But it was good. I like dark. That's generally what I go for. What is IPA your...
IPA is my beverage of choice.
Because it's got the highest alcohol content?
Not you. I mean, there's that, but then there's also just, I like the bitterness to it.
See, but you don't like dark? Have you gone dark?
I've gone dark, but I guess it's the weight to it. I still like the lightness.
You're like, I've just had a meal and a half.
Yes.
But, okay, that's fine. Which it's kind of what I like about it. I'm like, oh, good, I don't have to eat today. I'm just going to drink another old Rasputin.
Well, they say that about Guinness especially.
Yeah.
It's just like a loaf of bread.
A loaf of bread, which is how they kept
Even
the
though,
in check.
did you know Guinness actually has the lowest amount of calories of any beer?
No, I didn't.
It actually, when you stack it all up to each other,
Yeah,
I think Guinness has the lowest.
Interesting.
So that's their like whole campaign that they're doing right now is like, we're actually really good for you, comparatively. You should drink us.
Right. Well, there you go. It's funny because I've gone on this dark beer binge. Probably not a good terminology used for beer. And so now Guinness is very watery to me.
Oh, okay.
Because like I've been drinking like Stockyard and Old Rasputin, Old
True stouts
and stuff. Yeah.
We should have had some on the show.
Yeah. We clearly
didn't think this through at all.
At this point.
If there's a sponsor out there,
you'd show up now.
Show up now or anytime. I'll come back.
Oh yeah. I've actually wanted to do a craft beer like show.
I've got one.
Oh, do you?
It's called Microbrew-Ha-Ha.
Oh well.
And it's on Crittick. If you go to Crittick.com, Crittick.
I only saw shows with scantily clad women. So,
well, those are the ones that bring in the most views. That is our link bait. But then there's actually quality content there as well.
Okay, interesting. Well, let's get into it. So, all right, Brouhaha. How long have you been doing that?
I've been doing Microbrew-Ha-Ha. We started it. I did the Squatters. The other lead actor in Squatters, Eric Smith, and I started a podcast out of the Toad Hop Network, which was, if you know the Heidi and Frank show here in Los Angeles, they had their own digital network for 2.5 years before they became the morning show on 95.5 KLS. Cool. And when that happened, they were like, all right, we're done.
Right,
bye.
Sure.
We're making real money now.
Right.
So we stopped the podcast, but it was a great experience while we were doing it. And while we were on the air, we wanted an excuse to drink.
Right.
So we started a segment on the radio show called Microbrew-Ha-Ha, where we got a new craft beer every single week, and we rated it, not as like guys that knew anything about beer, just literally like, this tastes awful, this is great.
Right.
And then what we would do is we would tweet out beforehand what we were going to drink on the show so that people could call in and give their review. So it was like a community tasting on air, which was awesome. And then once the show ended, I then took it to Crittick and just started posting all the old Microbrew segments, and then also doing my own kind of tabletop, talking about a craft beer each week.
Gotcha. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I do a Pizza Games and Zombies show, which we talk about pizza and board games and zombies occasionally.
How many different varieties of pizza are there? Are there a lot?
Well, I mean, we're doing different locations.
Okay.
So, and then within that location, you know, you could have an endless.
Right.
Today we had olives from Guido's.
Okay.
Whatever.
So it's not like you're like, and this was Tony's, and this was the stand, and then this is Domino's, and this is.
We get like 1 or 2 different pizzas from a local place, and we try and find whatever like their most unique thing is, and then generally we'll get something that's also like pepperoni or something typical.
Have you had Joe Peeps before?
I've had Joe Peeps. I don't think we've done it on the show yet.
Okay, I would recommend it, especially the working class pizza, which is a thinner pizza. It's not their it's
like
not
New York style, but
more New York style.
Crispier.
Yeah, it's delicious though.
Yeah. Okay,
it's a little plug right there. I'm not even getting paid for that. I just like Joe Peeps pizza.
There you go. No, that's usually how it is. Somebody will be like, "Do that one," and we'll be like, "Yes." Well, first we'll contact them and be like, "Will you give us
free pizza?"
Free?
That's the key. That's always the key.
It's funny because it's usually the places that are more like fancy and like more like themed. Like Chibo was like, "Yes, take it." Like Extreme Pizza in Westwood was like, I think they have a lot of organic stuff. Like anyone who's like crazy like that, but all the like little mom and pop places are like, what do you want us? Oh, we don't want to give you free
for them.
Pizza.
They're like $5 is $5. See, well, we ran into that with the breweries. There was the breweries from like Wisconsin would send us beer.
Nice.
But the breweries in the area,
alcohol transportation laws.
What they would do is send us some merchandise.
I see.
To give away on the show, and it may or may not have been wrapped up with
beer.
And so, but the local breweries were all like, no.
Really?
So what happened is a lot of the listeners that were really into local brews, so you should do this with pizza, is we gave them the closest Bevmo number to us and had them gift beer. Because they'd be like, you have to try my beer. And we were like, we contacted the brewery, they won't give us any. And they were like, fine, I'll send it to you. Yeah. And so the listeners started sending us beer, which was awesome and delicious.
That's very cool. Yeah, we also do board games, hence that big shelf. So we've actually started to get like indie board game people sending us games, which I think is pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, like
have you played Dominion?
Oh yeah, of course.
I don't see Dominion up there.
I have 2 co-hosts who own probably twice as many games as I do.
All right.
So they have it. I think both have it.
Very cool. I just found out about Dominion, so I'm excited about it.
Ascension on the top shelf is relatively similar to Dominion. You just don't have the piles in the middle. You have one main deck.
Okay.
But it's very similar, so you might like that as well.
Very cool.
All right. So, Walk of Shame.
Yes. Let's get to the thing people really want to hear about.
Let's talk about the scantily clad women again, because Marisha was just here.
I saw Marisha talk about it, which was fun.
Did you watch that whole thing? Or
I watched most of it.
Oh, cool. Well, she's a great person to have scantily clad. No, she's a great person in general. So there's 7 or 8 episodes?
There's 6 episodes. And the idea basically was I was growing frustrated with...
you thought this works so well with beer.
Right.
Let me get women.
Well, exactly. I'm sitting there and I'm watching other people online get all these views on their shows. And I'm literally like, oh, please, if I could just stick a chick in her underwear and... Wait a minute. So... And I was curious about a series of vignettes. Like, I've always loved, like, Black Box TV, which is very, like, it's a quick vignette. It's horror, which I'm not really into horror. Yeah. But I was like, what if you could do that with comedy and sex? Right. Because that's what interests me. Laughter and sex and boobs. So I basically reached out to the hottest, most talented women on YouTube that I personally had the phone numbers of. Right. And just said, would you want to do this? Right. And at the time, what was cool was it was kind of my back pocket pitch for anytime I would meet with a YouTube network. And they were like, what else do you have? I was like, well, I've got this show about women. And I found a company that I can't name that said yes, and we went through the whole development process, and we shot 6 episodes, and we were ready to go. and there was going to be a lot of nice promotion on the show.
Right.
And then they found out that a clause in their contract with this network didn't allow them to post any content that this person was not in. So we had this like notable celebrity that was going to like promote the whole show.
Right.
And then because they didn't appear in every episode, they couldn't.
I actually think I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
I won't say.
I'm trying to be polite, but it sucked, and I was very disappointed. And so instead, I scrambled and just called up everybody that I know on YouTube that has a channel or whatever, and just said, "Hey," because I was a part of. I don't know if you remember the station.
Sure, of course.
Back with Maker.
Yeah, which was basically the first introduction of networks to YouTube.
Right.
Like that whole thing was like groundbreaking in a lot of ways.
And they used to just outsource sketches.
Yeah.
So they'd say, like the Fine Brothers did like hundreds of sketches, but it wasn't just Benny and Rafi. It was like other people that they just knew, like, hey, we've got these scripts, make them. And so I did dozens of sketches when I first moved to LA for the station that have literally never aired.
Oh, wow.
They are sitting on a hard drive somewhere.
No way.
And to me, that's the most heartbreaking thing as an actor, is you're like, you worked for free, and you worked with great people, and you're hoping you were funny.
Right.
And you are only doing this for the basically the footage and the credit, and getting it out there and getting your face out there, and then it never airs. And you're like, well, that was kind of then a waste of my time.
Right.
So for me, I didn't want Walk of Shame to become that, so I immediately reached out and was like, hey, what's the best home that we can put this with?
Yeah.
And because I already had Crittick, I already had a relationship with Machinima, they're like, look, we'll tweet it out, we'll promote it. You know, guys who play video games will enjoy the ladies. Right. So we made that kind of a Valentine's Day package and sent it out.
Gotcha. Are there plans to do more?
There are definitely plans to do more. We're actually talking to a few. What I actually really dig about the whole YouTube thing is I don't consider myself a YouTuber, like making vlogs and stuff, but what I like about it is it's this great like place to put something up and just feel out how it does. Right. And then from there, there's all these secondary and third distribution models that you can go to. So we're already talking to a couple different networks that may take on the show and air the old episodes, but then fund new episodes.
That's awesome.
So we want to do, basically my first step would be the first season focuses on women waking up in a strange bed. Right, as they do. Trying to sneak out of the house and something goes horribly, horribly wrong. Right. So the key is getting out of bed, they're in their underwear, guys enjoy the first 30 seconds, and then enjoy some comedy and some actual real good talent. I mean, I hired specifically female actors that I knew could handle, like Marisha has a 4-page monologue. Yeah. You know, Nikki Limo's in there. Nikki Limo does it, and she's
probably one of the funniest girls on YouTube right now.
And she's hilarious. Trisha Paytas is a former kind of porn strip person who's now this like born again Christian girl. Oh, really? So like, but she's kind of this plus size model that really embraces curves, and so to get to see her doing this like cuddling, you know, kind of boobalicious thing. Yep. And then we had, you know, Christiane Castellanos and Courtney Merritt as kind of like the rivaling girlfriends, which I loved. So it was just a great opportunity to really showcase talent. Like the scenes were really specifically written for talent. And then Anne-Marie Pazmino is fantastic at just physical comedy. Right. She barely talks, but just to get to see that physical comedy is so fun. And it doesn't hurt that she's in her underwear. Right. But for the second season, I definitely want, the guys were mostly sleeping and then reacting at the end. Sure. So I want to kind of turn it around and allow the guys to get to have their side of the story told by having their one night stand, like their next one night stand acted out. So that would be the goal for season 2. So what was the inspiration for the individual scripts? Were they just like, this would be funny, or were they based on any, you know, like real stories that had been brought to you? I think it was a combination. My writing partner and I, Mark Souza, he and I basically sat down and cranked out a bunch of like, this could be funny, like a list of ideas. Yeah. And the person that was originally going to take on the series went through that list these 6 and was like, yeah, this isn't funny at all. You guys are morons. This is okay. And so we flushed those out. And from there, it was just basically, we did this first pass of scripts that were very like safe and fun. Yeah. And then we were like, how can we make this awful.
Right. Yeah.
And
there's
so like Katie Wilson's in one.
Right. I was gonna say there's a line, and you guys cross it.
Yes.
As often as possible.
Yes.
And that is the one that came to mind was Katie's.
Yes.
For sure.
Because she's fantastic. That she's this whole like literally we wrote that one for Katie because we're sitting there. You just look at her and you're like, this girl's so innocent. Like she couldn't hurt anyone.
Right.
And she wakes up and she's having her period. She's spotting, and all I'll say is it results in murder. And like, to me, like that journey, there was literally a moment when we were writing it where Mark just turns to me and goes, are we really going to kill somebody? And I'm like, yes, I think we have to. There's nowhere else that this can go right now. So, again, that's, again, the key about keeping it short, keeping it simple on the internet. And Black Box TV did the same thing where you're not trying to like justify the reality of the situation. You know, this is a small little glimpse into a weird universe.
You have 3 minutes.
Right.
Yeah. Get it done.
And the reaction so far has been totally positive. People have been like, it's hilarious, the girls are hot, boobs, you know, flap, flap, what, you know, like all the positive response that you could ask for, except for we got one very in-depth review.
Really? Like in the comments or like
no,
on
no,
a
no,
blog
like
somewhere?
on a blog somewhere, on Nerdlush.
Okay.
And the entire review criticizes us for filming all of them in one location.
Weird.
And to me, that's cool, but have you seen a web series?
Right.
Because we don't have money. So we shot them all in one room. We didn't try to pretend they were different rooms.
Yeah, you know, until you said it, I actually never put that together in my head. Like, I think I've watched 4 out of the 6.
Right.
But I never actually, like, went, these are all the same? It didn't occur to me at all.
It's background noise. To
Yeah,
me, the point of it
matter.
is, yeah, the point of it is the comedy and the ridiculousness of the situation. It is true sitcom. It's situational comedy. But the fact that they took that time to pick us apart they really should have changed up the art direction. I'm like, anytime you guys want to come over and decorate 6 sets for us, let me know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in. If season 2,
funny.
I'm thinking when season 2 happens, I'm just going to call up Nerdlush and say, I know that you guys really wanted to help out with the production value. So if you guys want to each make available a bedroom to us for a day, we'll take it.
Were there any girls that you reached out to that passed on the project?
There were a few.
Can we out them? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm happy to out them, actually.
Oh, okay.
Because, like, what was cool about the experience was I was totally up from the beginning. I reached out. Well, and they're all friends of mine. So I just reached out and I said, hey, I'm doing this. It's for this person. You're going to have to appear in your underwear. Right. Hope that's cool. And surprisingly, I think what's interesting online is there's this sense that people aren't approachable. Yeah. They're like, oh, I don't want to. I can't ask them that. I asked Taryn Southern, who I know and I've worked with before, and Taryn was a sweetheart. She was like, this looks awesome. Like, I'd love to read the script over and let's talk about it. And then she, unfortunately, was at a wedding the day that we were filming. So she was like, I'm sorry, I'm in a wedding. And I was like, cool. That's fine. That's awesome. Yeah. And then I had, like Nikki Limo. Nikki wrote me back and she goes, you know, unfortunately, I have a very separate quote and very specific limitations about nudity, about, you know, underwear or anything like that. Right. So I'm really not going to be able to do it. And I was like, well, you don't have to be in your underwear. I was like, you're hot. I mean, you know, can we just suggest that you're naked? And she was like, yeah, I do that. Huh. So I was totally willing to work around. And to me, she's just as sexy in the show. And there's this great shot of her, which is the screen grab of her underneath the covers. Yes. You know, that to me, you get the bare-shouldered awesomeness. And there's this great shot of her changing, putting on stockings and everything, but she's fully dressed. So you still get the arousal, if you will, without anyone feeling like they're being exploited or taken advantage of, which to me is a win-win for everybody. Sure. Yeah, it worked out really well. I'm excited to hear there's more possibly coming. I hope so. Because I have ideas for scripts for you, by the way. Well, that's the other thing, is I definitely want to open it up to being something that people could all contribute on. Like, oh, I want to direct an episode. Right. I got 6 different directors for the episodes, because I wanted it to be this kind of collaborative, rotating thing. It was kind of like my version of Elevator. Right. Because I loved working on Elevator and Game Room. So for me, it was like, I want to just get a bunch of directors and writers and creative people together and bang this thing out. Nice. So moving forward, I would love to get a bunch of creative people and be like, oh, I have this story about when I woke up and this happened, or you know, I have a friend who this happened to, like, or I just have this bizarre, like, my idea that I definitely want to start with for season 2 is mimes. I want someone to wake up with a mime. That's all I know. I don't know where it's going to go from there, but that's where I want to start. All right. That's horrifying.
Okay, so those are available on Crittick.
Yes.
And who runs that? I mean, is that,
who runs Crittick?
Yeah, who's in charge of that over there?
There's a lot of us. Basically, it's all host driven, and all the hosts have access to the account.
Oh, okay.
So I basically gave everybody the password and username.
So it is your thing.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Well, I'm involved.
Yours and...
It's me, and then there's a guy, Jay Preston, and there's Courtney, and
right.
Liz Katz was on there for a while. Julia Cho was on there for a while. And literally it was, hey guys, upload, let's all do this together, and let's all promote together. Let's build a company instead of each individually trying to get 200 views, 300 views, 50 views.
Yeah.
Let's combine all those together so that we can all get, 1,000 views an episode or whatever.
Nice.
And then grow from there.
Right. And then, create School of Thrones and get 2 million views.
Right.
So let's get into that. So School of Thrones, for anyone who is completely devoid of internet access, and clearly not watching and listening to this, is a teen parody of Game of Thrones that takes place in Westeros Valley High, and you play the part of Renly.
I do.
Right.
It's the all-American quarterback, who is quarterback of the Fighting Stags, I've been told, is our team name, by Zach.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I feel like I saw comments in the YouTube where people were suggesting names for the football team. Yeah.
We'll have to have an actual game.
Yeah, definitely. Season 2 is going to be awesome because it will hopefully be longer than 3 episodes.
Right. Well, I think that's the thing is what was so smart about Zach Grafton and Matt Mercer making this is that I think that they genuinely just wanted to do a spoof of what had already been created.
Yes.
And they didn't really dream of it being anything beyond that. And again, this goes back to what is so cool about YouTube is throw it up there, see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's the next Annoying Orange, I don't understand why, but great. Run with it, sell it to Nickelodeon. Like, do your thing. But if it isn't, you at least have something that you're proud of that you didn't go bankrupt over, or didn't give up your entire life for. Yeah,
well, definitely, as far as the sort of collaborative element to it, I mean, it's got an amazing sort of internet new media group to it.
Right.
Like you, Matt Mercer, Marisha's on it, Sax Carr, who is previously one of my co-hosts on Pizza Games and Zombies.
Nice.
I'm in it for a 1/10 of a second.
Which I think it'll be cool to expand you further, especially given Drogo's whole storyline in the actual series. Yeah. Because it means, are you going to have a vicious motorcycle accident or something?
Right.
I mean, that then somebody may have tampered with your bike. There's a lot of cool crossover speculation that they can do.
I was saying to Matt, I think it would be awesome once we got into a certain point after season 2, we do a spin-off of Drogo. So it would be teen Game of Thrones paired up with Sons of Anarchy, so Drogo would then become Jax Teller.
Okay. I'm into that.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome. And it just follows his little high school motorcycle gang.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. I might have to write that myself.
Yeah.
So how did you first get involved with School of Thrones?
I got involved with School of Thrones because I was directing Marisha in Walk of Shame. And we were literally in her living room going over the monologue. And I was getting ready to leave, and Matt came downstairs and was like, hey, we're doing this Game of Thrones thing. Are you interested?
Right.
And I was like, I love Game of Thrones. I'd love to. And that was it. Which, again, it's kind of the exact same way Walk of Shame happened. It's the same way Squatters happened. It's the same way the Guild happened for me in Legend of Neil. That's just, to me, what the internet community is all about. Is literally reaching out, and there's no, pretension or arrogance about, let's hold screen test, or I'm going to pass on you. Or it's literally hey, dude, what are you doing Saturday? Yeah. Oh, you're free? Cool.
Nice.
Can I buy you a pizza? That to me is what this community is all about.
Definitely. So you said you're a fan of the Game of Thrones.
Very big
fan. The show and the books?
The show. I'm the world's slowest reader. Yeah. Literally the world's slowest reader. And I typically read more biographies and nonfiction.
Okay.
That's kind of what...
Like a history kind
not
of
so
thing?
Much like people's lives. I did Larry King's most recent book recently, and then one about... Oh, this is embarrassing. Spencer Tracy.
Okay.
And
it's like celebrity.
Yeah, and I've cracked Walt Disney's bio.
Okay.
I'm 50, 60 pages into that.
Yeah.
So it's, again, I'm the world's slowest reader.
Is it autobiography, or is it written by someone else?
No, it's written by someone else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does he come off crazy within the first 50 pages?
No. The first 50 pages so far have all been like, they were on the prairie and his father moved them to the farm, and like,
Oh,
I mean,
man.
it's like, I'm like, let's settle in. Like, this is going to be a full history here.
That sounds longer than a Lord of the Rings book.
It actually is, because I remember reading that trilogy several times in the amount of time that I've had the Disney book.
Yeah. All right. So, okay, fan of the show. Me too. I haven't actually read the books. I'd love to be able to say that I have, but I don't find that I have time to read anymore, aside from the fact that I'm a slow reader, and I'm always the guy that does, wait, and then I'm reading that same paragraph again.
Right.
I'm like, no, I read all of, God damn it. Who's your favorite character on the show?
Well, here's the thing. My favorite character on the show, and I feel like this is becoming redundant because everybody seems to love this character, is Anya. I love Anya, but you know who I really liked was her fight instructor.
Oh, sure.
Like, I was pissed when that dude died.
Yeah.
And I really hope that there's like a capoeira fight instructor or something in Westeros Valley High School.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
That teaches, maybe the gym teacher or something can be this,
right.
Very, kind of salsa, sexy.
Yeah.
I think that would be a lot of fun.
Right. Well, I think what really made him cool was like he had like his moral compass was so like, diehard.
Right.
Like he was the only good character, really. I mean, Anya's pretty good.
Right.
But like everyone else is so varying in the shades of gray that it's like he just stood out.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good call. I wouldn't have thought of that. That's nice.
So I'd just be interested in how, if they're going to incorporate kind of periphery characters like that in future episodes, which would be cool.
Right.
Not just the main core cast.
Yeah. Now, how would you describe Renly in School of Thrones?
I think, here's the thing, I actually just got asked about, they're like, oh, so is it like the show? And I was like, I am nothing like the show.
Right.
I think Anthony Gethin plays the Renly in HBO, and he does remarkable work. Like, it's an incredible character.
Yeah.
And I am nothing like that. I am. What's interesting is because I haven't read the books, Zach Grafton, our writer, did.
Right.
It's like most of this is coming out of the books for him. This is how he would have done the show.
Right.
Of course, in
Right.
Breakfast Club and Mean Girls universes. But for him, he always saw Renly as this just total badass.
Right.
Like, just tough guy who then. Because I think a lot of what people get caught up in is the fact that he's gay. And what? But I think what's interesting about that is it's more of he's this incredibly man's man.
Right.
Like, he should be king. He just has this one Achilles heel that in that time
was terrible.
Is terrible. Well, and he's not attracted to women, so he's not going to probably produce an heir.
Right.
Which would completely dissolve him from being able to take the throne, ultimately. I mean, he probably would have eventually just kind of pumped one out.
Right.
Or someone else would have on his behalf, if you will.
Sure.
But I think that's the real thing that Zach was intrigued by in the character, is that he's kind of portrayed as this very soft, effeminate mama's boy almost in the show. But he wanted this, like, this guy owns the school.
He's the jock. He's the big jock.
He should be king.
Right.
He really should be king. And if literally it was between Joffrey and him, if they were head to head in an actual fight, he'd win and he'd be king.
Yeah.
And the Baratheons should have the throne. So I think that's what's interesting about Renly in School of Thrones, is that he kind of owns the school.
Yeah.
Which is a much different take on and a departure from the HBO series.
Sure.
Because it focuses so heavily on the Starks.
Right. Yeah. So who were you in high school?
Who was I in high school?
Were you a jock?
Oh God, no.
Right.
Not at all. No. What's interesting is I was much the opposite in high school. I got beat up and bullied like all the time, and I was, my only athleticism was I was on like the swim team. Okay. And I skateboarded and just kind of kept myself and wrote poetry and listened to punk music. Oh yeah. I was a rebel.
You're me.
But
did you play D&D?
I didn't, but I played Magic.
Oh, okay.
The Gathering.
Yep.
Which again, another source of my bullying. And I still have my deck, actually. I found my old deck recently, and I was pretty excited.
Well, what colors?
I have a black and red deck, and then I have a white and green deck.
Oh, okay.
That's what I...
White and green, huh? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, interview over.
I do like the black and red.
Yeah.
No, I think I probably had a white and green deck. I had a Thallid deck, but I think that was a green and black deck.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, we're nerds. All right.
But that was me in high school. And then, of course, I got into theater when I was like 15.
Right.
So I started doing community theater and then high school theater. But again, I grew up in Durham, North Carolina, which had absolutely no professional theater to speak of,
sure.
or film or television. So, really it was just kind of a side thing, a hobby. And it wasn't until I started looking at colleges that I was like, oh wow, like you can major in this. This could be a career.
This is a thing.
That's craziness.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky to get to go to New York University, and that's where kind of my education of this as a profession began.
So how long were you in New York?
I was in New York for 7 years.
Okay. When did you make the choice to come out to LA? And why?
Well, it's an interesting story. So I actually went to, so my first week in New York was 9/11.
Oh, wow.
I actually saw the second tower
shit.
fall, which was a little crazy. And my parents were like, come back home. And I was like, I'm not coming back home.
Yeah.
But what was really cool about it was I saw all of these stockbrokers and people who'd done the responsible thing. They had real jobs.
Right.
Covered in white dust, had lost everything in their lives. And I'm like, in 40 years, if that's me, I want to have done the thing that I love doing.
Right.
I don't want to have done the responsible right thing by society, that I'm miserable.
Yeah.
And now I've lost everything that I've built from that miserable existence.
Yeah.
So instead, I've now chosen to be broke,
Nice.
which is great. But after 7 years there is kind of a glass ceiling, if you will, on Broadway or off-Broadway even.
Sure.
Where you have to be a name
Okay.
to even get, like, there's great understudy work.
Right.
And there's great independent theater, and there's independent film, and there's a few television shows. It's getting better now.
Yeah.
But when I was there was practically nothing. They were canceling Law and Order.
Oh,
it was like, we've got 4 shows, and you're canceling half of them. And all the soaps were drying up. So I moved back home to North Carolina. I'd always talked about LA.
Yeah.
And I ended up booking a short film called September 12th.
Oh.
Which brought me to LA. It was directed by Matthew Lewis, who went on to create and direct Video Game Reunion.
Oh, okay.
So that was my tie into that project.
Nice.
And I came out here, we shot it in a couple days, and 2 months later they were submitting to festivals.
Awesome.
And we did the whole festival circuit, which was great, and I got to win a Method Fest Best Actor Award.
Oh, very cool.
From that show. So it was such a great experience. It was like coming out here, immediately having something to like book. But then there was that, like, once we finished filming, I was like, oh, I don't actually know anyone out here. I just kind of moved, and I was like living on a couch for like $300 a month.
Oh man.
And they were getting sick of me. And so I quickly like found another film that actually shot in San Francisco for a month, and I went up there and then became really close friends with the other actor in the film, and he was getting rid of his apartment, but there was going to be some kind of crossover.
Right.
And so he was like, if you just want my apartment for a little while, and I was like, that's amazing. Yes.
And thus you came up with the idea for Squatters.
Yeah. Well, actually, I came up with the idea from Squatters, being in New York City and actually being.
Oh, really? Oh. Ah.
My junior year of college, the summer after my junior year, I thought I booked this really, really big project that I cannot say the name or who was involved, but it was a really big project, and I thought, I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna be famous, and I got a lease for an apartment that I couldn't afford because I'm smart,
right?
I'm, like 21 at this point,
right?
And the job, like a 13th producer came on board and this is the funny part, they go, we really think we want a blonde. Which I've then been blonde in practically every other project I've done.
Sure.
But they couldn't see that I could buy peroxide, so I lost the job.
That's terrible.
I lost the job. God. And what's ironic is I've seen the movie and they didn't go with a blonde.
Right.
Ultimately. So I don't know what that was about.
Yeah.
But I lost this job, I couldn't afford the apartment, I lost my deposit, and I didn't have a place.
Sure.
So I was basically couch surfed for as long as I could until I kind of lost the ability to do that. With everybody was like, dude, come on. And I was saving up money as fast as I could.
Sure.
There's that day when you go to the ATM and you can't afford the fee.
Right.
It's like $4.50 to take money out, and you don't have $4.50 in the bank, and you're like, all right, well, that's depressing. And so I was saving up money as fast as I could, and ran out of places to couch surf, so I started, doing the old, sleep in libraries, sleep on the train, sleep in the park during the day. I'm just sunbathing. And then I actually, for a while, the real hookup that I found was a movie theater.
Oh.
I was working at Quiznos at the time, and we shared a little alleyway to take out trash and everything with a movie theater in New York. And they would knock on the door every night and change sandwiches for tickets.
Oh,
and swap us.
All right.
And so I got to know the manager, and I was like, I don't really know where to go. And he was like, if you want to go to the midnight movie, I'll lock you in the movie. Like, after it's done, I'll, like, do my final sweeps, and I won't see you.
Right.
You can just sleep there overnight, and when I come open the place in the morning around 10 o'clock,
dude, that's awesome.
I'll let you out. It was the sweetest deal ever. I felt safe. I didn't have, like, any crazy people, like, grabbing me or trying to steal my stuff. I was very, very lucky. And again, it was not like I was out there for like 6 months. Like, it was a couple weeks, and then I was able to like save up and get a place.
Oh, that's cool. That's interesting. Yeah, that's a really good hookup. Did you get free popcorn with that? Like, you found it on the ground. You're like, hey, I can eat these Twizzlers.
I wasn't gonna push my luck. There was a night that I got really hungry, and I was gonna go I wonder if I could go in the snack bar and just like leave a couple bucks. But I was like, if he sees on the camera that I'm like behind. Like, I don't want to piss anyone off. Like, to me, let me just stay in this situation and not break any rules. Right. Like, I was scared to go to the bathroom because I was just like, I don't want to be caught by somebody else and he gets in trouble, and then like I've ruined this deal for both of us. Right. So I was on my best behavior while I was there. Wow. But I did see Spider-Man 2 like 1,000,000 times. So that movie is just like etched.
Did it get better or worse?
Toby's voice over time becomes more and more gentle and relaxing. It kind of lulls you into a deep sleep, which is what I think my father would say about the movie.
It just knocks you out.
Yeah,
like,
it's my Ambien. I just stick that. I'm like, put on Spider-Man 2 and I'm done.
Nice. How many episodes of Squatters was there?
There were 14 episodes of Squatters. Yeah. We released the first 8 on Dailymotion. We were their first original comedy. Oh, nice. Which was awesome. Yeah. And I remember when you guys had like. They screened it, like they had skinned it. Yeah, that was part of the whole deal. And you know what else was part of the deal? Money.
Nice.
And that didn't happen.
Oh.
So the money situation didn't really, math didn't add up. Right. And I respectfully was like, we've put a lot of our energy and our promotion into being on Dailymotion. We're not going to leave because no one will find the show. Right. But we're not going to be exclusive anymore. Yeah. And so they then allowed us to go. We put it on Blip and YouTube and everywhere else. But it was one of those moments where what was sad about it was if the money had been what it was originally agreed upon, then we would have actually been able to afford a second season. Sure. Which was what I was kind of banking on. Like, I wasn't actually going to release the show to begin with until I knew we could do a second season. Right. And we just didn't ever get to do that, which was disappointing. But it's out there. It's free to watch. So please go look at it at squatterstheseries.com.
Cool. For people out there who want to get into doing web content and stuff like that, how close are you to actually living off it?
Living off of it?
Yeah. Anywhere near?
Well, it's weird. And I think this is just part of being an actor anyway. Sure. Being in entertainment of any kind, whether you're a writer, an actor, or a director, is you get paid sometimes, and then the rest of the year you hate life. So I think the thing is, what's different about web content is that there are people that if you can cultivate enough ongoing content, you can have a steady stream of income, which is cool. Yeah. But for me, I'm not like a vlogger or anything. Right, like, I don't think I'm that interesting. That I'm going to be like, and today, guys, this is what I did. Like,
check out this box of stuff I brought home.
Right. So for me, I'd rather focus on, just like with acting or with writing, if I spend a year on a script and then I sell that script, hopefully that money compensates for the year it took to develop and maybe a little the next year of finding the next job. Right. And the same with acting. Yeah. You know. So what's great is with these web projects, sometimes like a little money comes in, it can help pay the cell phone or you know pay a couple bills. I have a steady gig with Machinima right now, where I do a live stream show for the CW. They have a show called Cult. If you've ever heard of The Talking Dead.
Oh yeah, is that Chris Gore?
Yeah. Yeah. Chris Hardwick.
Oh, Chris Hardwick. Yeah.
Nerdist. We are we are the same thing as Talking Dead for CW's The Cult. Right. So it's the ETC after party, The Cult of Cult, and we interview cast members, we take Twitter questions, we reveal like there's all these things secretly put inside the show. Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah?
kind of cool. Like, there's hidden clues and like
Yeah,
hidden
yeah.
stuff in the soundtrack that you can play back and put in reverse if you're really diehard into it.
Right.
So we're kind of like facilitating people to geek out about
this
that.
is your day job, basically?
So this is my day job,
Oh,
which is
see, now that actually
which is cool.
is basically where that question was going, more or less.
Right.
I mean, you're living in through your creative means.
Yes, I'm
And
living through my
that's the
creative
dream.
means. But it is through, you know, like this won't go forever. This
Sure.
is 13 weeks, and I've got to make sure I budget and put aside to be able to then cover me for
Right.
the next 13
Yeah.
weeks, which will probably not have anything.
Yeah.
And then I am a full-time actor, so really my primary source of income is that, you know, if I book like a TV gig,
Sure.
you know, that usually helps me out.
Yeah. Have you done anything recently?
I have. I did most recently did an episode of NCIS.
Oh, cool.
In November.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. And then I've been auditioning for several things. I've been put on hold for 2 projects this year already, and it's been like me and another dude.
Oh, yeah.
And my joke is that almost without fail, it's always me and a black guy. And we're there at like the final test,
Right.
you know, looking at each other, and we're literally like, we can't take this personally. Like,
Right.
it has nothing to do with our talent. It's literally, do you want this guy or that guy? Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing else that it can be
super
about.
weird.
So it's been comforting to know at least, like, well, they wanted a black guy.
Yeah.
Like, cool. If when they want the honky, then they'll call me.
Right.
But it's nice and encouraging to have that, like, to be a part of LA and to be a part of what I moved here to do, which is following that dream of being an actor and getting out there and auditioning and getting close, like getting
Right.
myself in the room, getting closer and closer every time, you know. And sometimes it lines up and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. What's your dream role? What would you want to do?
Dream role,
Yeah.
like of all time.
Yeah. Like.
Wow. That's ever changing. I'm a character actor. I love to make myself look weird and, you know, stop eating for a couple months or put on a lot of weight for a couple
Oh, wow,
months or
you
like,
really go into it.
I'm crazy like that. And I like feeling like I am the character for a little time. I feel bad for anyone who's ever
Yeah.
dated me because they've dated Brendan so little. They've dated all
Right.
these other people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there's been times even when girlfriends have been like, "You got it. Hold up. I'm not interested in Paul right now.
Right.
Like, where's Brendan? Like, I'm out to dinner with Brendan. But
Paul, he uses a white and blue deck, and I don't
exactly,
play
we
that
don't
shit.
play that shit. So I get, but my roots are in theater,
Yeah.
and I love stage, and so I would have to say a dream role of mine has always been to do Iago in Othello.
Yeah.
I would love to do a production of Othello, mostly because Iago is Shakespeare's only real villain. I mean, he has John the Bastard that's just kind of like, I'm a bastard. But Iago, systematically, he has soliloquies like Hamlet does.
Right.
Where he confesses to the audience, I don't even know why I don't like the guy.
Yeah.
I just want to make him suffer. And by the end of the play, you're on his side.
Right.
He's convinced you that, and he's a true monster. Like,
Yeah.
he's a true sociopathic monster. And I think to get wrapped up in that and to present that on stage, and especially to have that audience connection, like,
Yeah.
I got to study in London and I actually got to perform on the stage at the Globe
Right.
when I was in school. And being able to look out on 3 tiers of people who scream back at you
Yeah.
and, like, engage with you while you're
Right.
performing, like, that's what's exciting. I think that's what's great about the web stuff is there is that interactiveness.
Yeah.
There's that audience engagement. And to me,
Right.
that's what theater's all about is they're right there.
Yeah.
They can see you sweating. You know, like I was doing the Oresteia off Broadway in New York, and there's a scene where I'm sitting there pleading with the jury of Furies
Yeah.
to not kill me.
Right.
And they've put me through hell. They've forced me to bite off each of my fingers one by one and like all this crazy stuff. And I'm literally pleading with them. And I'm supposed to treat the audience like they're the juries.
Right.
And I'm looking, and there's a girl in the front row has her phone, and she's just texting. And I'm like, I can hit you. Like, I could literally reach out and smack you right now. Like, are you kidding me? But, I mean, that's part of it. You know?
Yeah.
And then sometimes they're totally wrapped up in it and they're shouting things back. So to do that with Iago, to like turn to the audience and be like, I'm a dick,
Yeah.
but you're going to be cheering for me in 20 minutes. Let's do this.
Right.
I think that'd be a really cool role to
Yeah,
play.
that'd be interesting. Yeah. All right, this is the lightning round.
Okay.
These are just quick answers.
Oh, dear.
Favorite comedy movie?
Favorite comedy movie? Blazing Saddles.
Oh, well, that's good. Inspirations?
Inspirations?
Yeah.
People.
Yeah.
People. I mean, I guess
Not like I like chairs.
Right. Love vodka. Mel Brooks comes to mind just because of Blazing Saddles.
Sure.
Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
I guess because of Frankenstein. Dan Harmon's pretty great. If it's lightning, I could just keep going.
That's good. What kind of stuff are you watching online right now?
Online right now. I'm in love with, and I'm going to get criticized for this, but I'm in love with wigs.
Okay. I have not seen that.
It's this whole channel by the guy who does In Treatment.
Okay.
And he does these female-centric features that he cuts up scene by scene and just streams them on. Fox recently bought them.
Gotcha.
And everyone's mad because like Julia Stiles is in it and a bunch of other famous people. But it's incredible.
Yeah,
it looks like Showtime on YouTube. Huh. And so I'm like, it's freaking awesome. And it's well played, sir.
Interesting.
I'd love to be involved. Call me. And then there's this incredible web series you've got to check out that I'm obsessed with and I keep rewatching called The Underwater Realm, which is 5 vignettes that are each like 15 minutes long, and they are literally shot underwater. They're in they got a community pool, covered it in sand on the bottom, art decorated the whole thing, and it's all, there's no dialogue obviously because it's underwater, but like you're sitting there the whole time and it's just, your mind is exploding. Because you're just like, this is all underwater. Like, what the fuck is happening? Like, this is incredible. You know, and and it's not like, you know, a studio made it. It's a bunch of college kids in Britain that literally just took a bunch of cameras and broke them underwater.
Wow.
So check out The Underwater Realm.
Interesting.
Because that's
very cool. All right, and tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me anywhere online, probably more than I want you to.
Yeah.
Using Brendan A. Bradley. That's Twitter, Facebook, YouTube.com, everything. Brendan A. Bradley.
Cool. And then School of Thrones, which is youtube.com/School of Thrones.
Yes.
And Walk of Shame, which is on Crittick, spelled Crittick.
Indeed.
And Squatters, the series. Anything else?
And then join me every Friday night for Machinima ETC's The Cult of Cult for the CW. And you can see hot CW chicks that I get to interview, which is pretty cool.
Awesome.
It's a great job.
And come back tomorrow because I'm going to have Matthew Boehm.
Ooh.
Yeah. So,
all right.
The Loras to Renly.
The Loras to my Renly.
You have anything to say?
Is he going to wear the wig?
No, I don't think so. I don't.
Oh, you have to get him to wear the wig.
Sure?
No, he borrowed it though recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I still have my beard from.
Oh, you should totally rock that. Yeah. You should have Drogo interview Loras.
So, probably gonna eat your heart later, but
no, you should do it in, what's the language that they speak? You should do it in that language. That'd be pretty incredible.
Lockjock. Well, that's Klingon. All right. So yeah, come back tomorrow for that. And if you're watching this anywhere else, go to craveonline.com/comedy and check this out and look for more comedy crack.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Cool.
Bye. Cool, man. That was easy peasy.
Definitely.